PS3 Part 2. Okay, after that false start, now we're going to talk about the second era of the PlayStation 3. For me, anyway. So this was after I came back from university. So I was looking through games to buy, and straight away I saw something that massively, just really caught my eye, based on my history of Deus Ex. I saw Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut. And that turned out to be one of the most defining games of my history. What I love about the Deus Ex games is the choices in how to engage enemies. You can sneak. You're encouraged to sneak around. You can achieve missions in any way you want. It's almost like the series is like an RPG, but in a first-person shoot-'em-up style. And yeah, and what I loved about Deus Ex Human Revolution was the stealth takedowns, and it incorporated cover mode, which is something I first experienced in Perfect Dark Zero and then in Rainbow Six Las Vegas. And having the cover mode, so you can sort of stick to a wall and look around whilst remaining behind the wall, which is something that I've said before. I really don't understand why Call of Duty don't do this. It just makes it so much more enjoyable. But then again, maybe Call of Duty just isn't that sort of game. It's not as, I don't, from what I hear, it's not as tactical or such. But anyway, yeah, I played Deus Ex Human Revolution so many times. I played through all the endings. I started with the director's cut just because it looked better. I found out later that what the differences were between the original and the director's cut. And yeah, if you plan to get it on Steam, if you see Deus Ex Human Revolution on sale on Steam, go for the director's cut. Do not go for the original release. The director's cut is so superior. The fact you can start a new game after your first game and keep your character build is it makes for a very interesting second playthrough. There are not multi-tools, but automatic unlocking devices, which are essentially their version of multi-tools. There's Silence sniper rifle, and it includes a couple of really interesting missions. One involving Tracer Tong, a young Tracer Tong, and another one involving a sort of a bypass of the story where you get onto a wrong boat and end up getting kidnapped on a base in the middle of the ocean, and it looks helpless, but you come out on top in the end. It's very difficult though, because you lose all your character build. You have to rebuild. You get it back after you finish that part, but they incorporate that DLC into the game, which is fantastic. Okay, I've gone on about that for long enough. Now comes the a big defining moment in my gaming history. In 2014, I did something for the first time. I linked my PS3 to my Wi-Fi, and I played a game online. I had never done that before, but I fired up Grid 2 once I'd gone through the career mode of Grid 2, which is like the part of the touring car game series. I got onto online, and I started racing in races online against other people, and I was shocked at just how good these people were. In Grid 2, it wasn't particularly realistic. The handling, the damage was incredible in those games, but the handling was unrealistic. You could just handbrake on every turn, and boy, did I feel slow once I went up against those people. But yeah, I would spend forever just doing online races in Grid 2. That had a really good public lobby system. The one downside, of course, is you got tons of those people that just turned every race into a destruction derby, which I didn't like at all. But that will come on to the way around that in a video later in the future. Later in the future, that's redundant. So, another significant thing, I discovered something called Boomerang, a website where you could rent games. Sort of like the way Love Film used to work, where you could you could get DVDs in the post. You could get games in the post, and I tried some decent games on there. Some I liked, some I didn't. Bioshock and The Last of Us just weren't really my thing. You know, I'm sure they're good games. Everyone says they are, but that's not my thing. What else did I try? But the big one I did, but this led to something really big in my gaming history, and it's so big, I'm going to go into it in another video entirely. It was my birthday in 2015. I got Skyrim, and that will be its own separate video because I have so much to say about Skyrim. Yeah, I think that'll do it for part 2 of the PS3 video. I don't think there's anything else much to talk about. I've talked about racing, I've talked about Deus Ex Human Revolution. The only thing I can remember to point out was I did try Ninja Gaiden Black Sigma, which is better, but I think I touched on that in the last video. Also, I'm going to talk about another game in the future, which I forgot to talk about, but it kind of works into the later on. It's about Shenmue 2. I'll talk about that game later on, as I played it again in a later console when there was a remaster. So yeah, I think I'll do it for that video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I don't fall off my chair again. See you again.